Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is in part of a collaboration with Mini Scenes GB. Make sure that you check out, there will be a link in the description of the video for you to check out all the other amazing artists that are participating in this collab. It's going to be some good ones. And on to this video. I am doing something that I have never ever done before. Now, if you guys have seen part one of this, because I had to cut it out because this is a long video and I apologize, but there is just a lot to it, guys. Like, this took me 3 weeks, no lie, just to get done with the actual item itself, and that's not counting the amount of time that I have spent editing and all of this stuff. I am going to be moving in super fast in a lot of this because I kind of have to in order to get it all in. Anyway, so we have the skulls that we've already done from that first video. Now it's on to some dragons, and I am using Let's Resins between their Intense Chameleon and their regular Chameleon powders. A combination of the two and different ones just on these dragons and this little hand moldy thing that I've got, because I want this to be super colorful, super awesome, just super. And oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this for so long. It feels like, I feel like a person at Christmas time, like, you know, kids at Christmas, they can't wait to get their gifts or whatever. I get that way when I'm like giving gifts, and it's been driving me insane not to show you guys this because it's so cool. Oh my God, it's so cool. So I'm going in with a couple different colors. Now, the two dragons I got, I kind of want to do like a hot and a cold feel for them. So I'm using kind of like golds and the dark cherry from the Intense Chameleon powders on this one because it's a fire dragon. At least that's how it was described when I was purchasing the mold for it. And then for the other one, I'm going to go more cooler tones. So I'm doing grape and I am doing blue. And we're kind of going to rock it out with those two and add some more cool stuff to it. Now, I am cleaning in between my colors with just some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip, baby wipe, whatever the case may be for however much I needed to get done. And we're going to kind of go from there. Now, as far as the coloring on them, it's kind of basic, kind of ish for now. We're going to get into some crazy detail later on in this video. And for this, see how cool that looks already? Like, oh, I'm so excited, guys. So excited. For this little hand holding claw thing, whatever, like, it's got rocks, it's got snakes, it's got skulls, it's got the hand. Actually, it's a tea light holder, I believe, mold. And I thought it was really cool, and I thought it would just add some coolness to this item. Now, I am going in. You can't flip the mold inside out, which is why I'm doing it like I'm doing it. And I'm trying to get each little thing in there with different colors where I can. Now, as far as the hand and the fingertips and stuff down there, I'm just I took a couple different colors of the chameleon powders and I'm just kind of plopping them in there, and then I'm going to mix it all together and kind of see what we get from there. Now, I am using Let's Resin's epoxy resin for this, and I am using some Rolio deep black pigment paste because we all know that black goes best with the chameleon powders to get that effect that you're looking for. This mold, let me tell you, I don't know, is as cool as it is. I don't know if I will ever use it again. This has got to be the worst mold ever. Ever. With the exception of maybe some candlestick holder molds, like those long, skinny ones. Like, this thing wouldn't even stand. It's like, as soon as you, like, when you have the hand part filled, that's fine. But there's, like, zero support on the bottom part of this mold. None whatsoever. Which I didn't realize because it has, like, the two support looking things on the side, but they don't do anything. It's so soft and flimsy that Like, the support is soft and flimsy, which is ridiculous. I had to prop it up and pray to everything that nobody would knock into my desk and resin wouldn't go everywhere. Like, it was not cool. Like, it was a very stressful few hours while that was kind of curing. But anyway, so now I'm just going along and I am filling up these dragons, making sure that I'm getting into their little claws and everything. Now, hindsight, I should have paid a little bit more attention and squished it around and all of that, because I did get quite a few air pockets where their horns are, which is unfortunate, but we're going to roll along with it and see if we can't do something with them, because I think they turned out pretty cool. Pretty cool. We're gonna, dress them up a little bit more though. But I think for starters, I think they're pretty neat looking. Now, this thing to demold was just as much of a pain in the butt as it was to get it to stand up. Bottom part easy. Getting to that hand took me forever. I'm going to cut out most of the struggling because of time for this video, because it's so long, but it does turn out pretty cool. All right, so now we're going to dress these guys up, do a little painting action, get some more detail in here, and I will be back when I'm done with this part for the next step. All right, I'm back. So, now for the base. Now, this part was inspired by a video that I seen by Resin As You Wish, where she did some lava coasters. So, we're going to go on a bigger scale because I like to go big. And I'm taking some obsidian and I am just kind of positioning it where I want, kind of like how I want this to lay, where I want an opening for my lava to go, and I'm just kind of figuring it out how I want the look of this to be. Now in hers she used colored glass. I'm using obsidian. Now I have an idea. I want this to light up. If it's going to work or not, I'm not sure. But I got these little silicone dealies that I made out of plastic packaging. And when I made them, I had no real like rhyme or reason for why I made them. I had some extra silicone and poured them. So I'm going to see if maybe they might work to kind of put the holes in there that I can put lights up inside of them after everything is said and done. Now, is it going to work? I have no idea, but we're going to go for it and try. So I've got the big one in the middle, and then on each side of where my lava is going to go, I'm going to kind of cut these in half longwise because I only had a couple to make it stretch all the way down or as far down as I can go towards the outer rim of this mold. And I'm just going to kind of plop them down there. I'm going to put some of the rocks on top of them to kind of keep them from moving around or floating. These aren't super thick. Like I said, it was used with leftover silicone that I had when I was making some inlays. We're just going to kind of see if it works and cross our fingers and hope for the best. So, straight line, kind of in the V shape, putting the rock semi on top of it, but not completely, because I do want it to be in the lava portion of this, not necessarily where the rocks are, but I'm hoping that the rocks will help weigh them down somewhat. And now it is time to start with our resin. Now, for the resin, I am doing two colors in this step. One, I'm using black pigment paste by Rolio in deep black, and that's going to be for the black portion. And then the other part, I am going to use Scarlet by Rolio. It is the mica powder, is the closest mica that I've seen that's actually like red. So that's what we're going. Now, what we're going to do first is I am pouring on the two sides, I'm pouring the black. And then I am going to kind of make sure it goes all over. Now, it needs to touch the rocks, obviously, somewhat, because something's got to hold these rocks in place, right? Otherwise, they're just all going to fall out. So I'm kind of like drizzling it over open areas that I see where the rocks are, and just to make sure that there is something that is going to hold these together. And then I'm going to go over with my heat gun real quick just to pop any bubbles from mixing it and all that good stuff. And now it is time to add our lava, at least our first layer of lava. So I'm going in around the edges first with this red. I'm going to fill it up. Now, if it goes into the rock some, I am completely a-okay with that, as long as it's not completely, going into where our black section is, because that's not what I want for this first layer. And again, with the heat gun, popping any bubbles. Now, this is going to be a multi-layer step, and I already see that my silicone is floating, which is an issue. So we'll see. Now I'm just going around to make sure that the resin is all around the outer edge of the mold. Going in with the red again, adding a little bit more. Now we're going to take some Let's Resin red alcohol ink, and we're just dripping it on the edge of where those rocks are. Just on top of the rocks. This is going to give us a different variation of red that we already have. We're going to let this dry. All right, it's 24 hours later. Now it is time for our next layer. So I'm not mixed up as much this time because all we're going to do is work on the lava part. The black part is staying as it is for now. Two different colors. We are going yellow and we are going orange. And then we are also going to use the same alcohol ink that we used in the last one. Now, this is an unbranded orange. I can't remember where I got it from off the top of my head. And then we are going with the Rolio yellow, and we're just going to mix these up. So, first step is we're going to go in here with the yellow. Now, I don't want a lot of yellow, but we're going to go in about halfway. Put our yellow in, kind of make it so that it's touching all the areas and completely done. And then we're going to take it and we're going to drizzle it over some of these obsidian rocks. And we're going to make it so that this lava is kind of moving and going in a couple different places. And we're going to kind of try and get it in between the rocks as opposed to on top of them, if that makes sense. And we're just going to, just for some added detail, some added effect, some extra movement to this plate, to this piece, and for some coolness. Like when you see a volcano and you see that lava flow. It's flowing, you know, in different directions through different crevices and valleys and all that fun stuff. So that is what we're going for here. But I don't want to go too much at this point. So, hitting it with our heat gun, now it's time for the orange. Now, with the orange, you're going in the middle of the yellow. So you don't want to go and cover up the yellow. You want to go in between the yellow so that you have the yellow on each side of it. And that orange is like the next step of like when it starts to, I guess, cool or whatever that's hitting the air. And we're just going to kind of put this in, let this go. Now we're going in with our red. And our red, we are doing the same that we did before. We are dripping it right on the edge of where the obsidian rocks are. All along all the sides. And it's kind of going to flow and give it more movement and make it look more lava-ish. Hit it with the heat gun. That's going to help our movement a little bit. And then I decided that I didn't have quite enough red in there, so I'm going to add more. And then we're going to go in with our orange again, and we're just going to kind of play with how it's going, adding in a bunch more detail and taking a toothpick now, because now I want those fine lines and details. I want to make sure that I have this yellow poking through. The yellow really makes it pop up against those other colors. So I want to make sure that there's plenty of that showing through, and that as the resin cures and it moves, we get those hints of colors popping out, right? So that's what we're doing in this layer. Now, obviously, as it flows and it cools down, it's going to happen in different layers, right? So you're going to have different amounts of movement and flow, which is why we only went so far down with the yellow, because the orange is going to push that yellow out more. And we're kind of just going in with a toothpick and adding just a little bit of color here and there, just to make it look like there is lava coming up underneath all of those obsidian rocks, and just giving it more depth and detail and just amazingness. Like, I think this looks so cool as it is, but it's going to obviously change and do whatever, cleaning up a little bit of mishaps that I've got resin in places I didn't necessarily want it, adding more orange where I need it, but trying to keep that yellow so that it is on that outer edge, like just barely. So you've got your different layers. You've got your red underneath, you've got your yellow for the flowingness that's coming, then your orange, and then your red kind of pushing through, and then all of your black obsidian that's just there. It's just, I think it looks super cool already. And this part, like, it did take quite a while just to get all the details to look right. Now, obviously, we know that as it cures, it's going to do its own thing, but you just kind of want to keep going in there with and building up that. Okay, so 24 hours later, now it's time for the next layer. So you can already see how it has cured. Now we're going to go in, and we're doing a little bit less this time, because I don't need it to go quite as far as it went the last time. Now, I probably should have put less yellow in, maybe instead of going halfway down, just doing 3/4 of the way, because you can see that you can't see any of that initial red that we put down to begin with. So, same 3 colors that we're using, the orange, the red, and the yellow, and we're just going to do the same thing, only this time we're going to not go as far. We're just going to do a little bit, just add a little bit to it, because this should be like, when it cures, it should be a level up from the last one, if that makes sense. And we're going to add just a little bit more detail, a little bit more movement, and just watch this thing kind of take shape. Now, I will be doing pretty much the same thing I did on the last layer on this one, just not quite as much. So as I go through this, I'm going to just have some background music playing, and you can just kind of watch as it takes shape and unfolds. All right, I'm back. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Like, I think it looks cool. It's hard to know when enough is enough and when to stop. And I may have had a slight problem with that, but it's fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so as that's drying and doing its thing, I don't need this little indent here for the tea light. I'm not using it for that. So I had some black resin left over from when I was doing my skull molds, and I'm just going to fill that up with that. Now, what I want to do is that top layer is dry. Now I'm going to put some of my gilding adhesive on this part because we're going to add some foil to this to make it a little bit different. And I just need that to start drying. So we're going to set that off to the side, let that dry. Now we're going to add a little bit more detail to these obsidian rocks. So I'm just taking my gloss varnish and a little bit of onyx glitter. It's a fine glitter. And I'm just going to kind of go over the top of some of this obsidian and just add a little bit of sparkle to it. Like nothing huge, nothing crazy, but I am going to go over all of them. It's just going to add that next layer of detail to what we've got going on. And I think it's going to look pretty cool. Like, it's not going to be super crazy, oh, I notice it type deal, but it's just going to add that just little bit of extra something to it. So we're just going over that. Bam, done. Let that dry. Now it's time to add some more detail to these dragons. So I decided that they needed like real eyes. So I'm taking some rhinestones and just with some diamond glaze, I'm going to put rhinestones on their eyes. Now I realize they're not dragon eyes. I get that. I know. But I don't have any dragon eyes. So this is what we're going to do for these guys. And I figure, well, why stop at that? I'm going to do the fire one. Now I'm going to do the cool one. And then I've got some more that I'm going to use on here because the little hand mold thing has got a snake on it. And it's also got a couple skulls. So I thought they could use some eyes too. So we're going to get back to that. But first, I thought, you know what? Dragons typically guard gold. So I'm going to, before I place the dragons down, I'm going to mix up some gold and make it look like they're kind of on top of a treasure, guarding it with some jewels and stuff like that. So I just took some of my crushed glass glitter in gold and I mixed it with some gloss varnish and I'm going to kind of put it down here where I want this dragon to go and make it look like he's laying on top of the gold. I thought it'd be a pretty cool detail. So I started with a little bit and realized that it wasn't enough. So we're just going to add some more to it. And then we're going to add, because this glass glitter stuff comes in a bunch of different colors, I thought we'll add some purple and we'll add some blue and some red for like rubies and sapphires and amethyst. And we'll add a few of these little pearl things that I got in different colors because they can represent jewels too. And then I also have like these little skeleton keys that I thought we could put one of those down there too. Like it's a key to some, I don't know, whatever mega treasure thing that's more than what we've got going on here. Who knows? I just thought it looked really cool. And then it's going to be time to kind of figure out the placement of everything. Like I have an idea, but I'm not sure. So we're going to fool around with that as this starts to dry. And see, it looks pretty cool already. It's not done. Like it's going to get better. Trust me. This was just the kind of start. But now, first let's go and let's add these eyes that I was talking about into the skulls and the snakes. And I think this just gives them that just a little bit more oomph and creepiness and whatever. So I got some black eyes that I'm going to shove in their heads. And then for the snake, I went with, I can't remember off the top of my head. It was either blue or green. And we're going to pop those on here. And I just think it adds a lot to it. A lot more than just what I had it painted before. Like, look how creepy those things look. I think it looks super cool. We're almost done with the gilding glue. So now finally that's dry. Now I'm going to go in with some red foil because red's kind of like the color that is going on, like with the lava and stuff like that. So I thought red would look really cool. So we're just going to put that on top of where our dried glue is, and then just get a fluffy brush and just make it all nice and smooth, get off all the excess. And because I know how this foil loves to stick to silicone, I'm going to put a paper towel underneath of it so that anything that is brushed off as I varnish it in I can just put it in the trash and I don't have to worry about it getting stuck to my mat to never come off again. And that's it for this part. And then we're going to start putting everything together. And this is the part that I can't wait for. Like the details and the putting it together is going to be awesome. But first, remember, if you watched the video with the skulls, remember how I told you how to fix the teeth? I'm going to fix the teeth. So I'm using Let's Resin's acrylic marker for this in black, and I'm just going along the whole line between the gum line and the teeth, and then the teeth themselves individually, and just going over that. And that's just going to straighten any kind of wonkiness I got going on with the gold and separate those teeth up. And it adds a layer of creepiness that it's just a line. Like, there's nothing special about it, but it just adds that much more creepiness to it, which is awesome. And you wouldn't think that something so small that's really, the thing's black would, but it does. And then we're going to go over these rocks with that gloss varnish and glitter mixture that we had from the other obsidian rocks, just so that they match and go along with it before we start piecing everything together. Okay, so now it's time to start placing this stuff together and kind of figuring out where we want it to go. So I already knew from before that I wanted the skull sitting inside the lava. Like, that's just what I wanted. We know that the one dragon's going to be guarding the gold, and then just kind of placing the other dragon, the hand, and then the two skulls that I have. One of them I know is going to sit on top of that hand, and the other one, I'm kind of not 100% sure with the other two. Like, I know I want the one in between, and I'm going to glue him on with some E6000. And that's all I'm doing for all of these pieces. Once I kind of figure out where I want them, I'm just going to put some E6000 on the bottom and push them down and let them set and cure. Now, I am going to let them do their thing and let that glue cure for 24 hours before I move on to the next step, because I want to make sure that they are like totally, completely set and I don't have to worry about anything popping off or any of that nonsense. And that's pretty much all we're going to do in this step. We're just going to let this dry, and then I'm going to let it dry, honestly, for a good 24 hours. I want to make sure that I don't have any issues with anything. After it's dry, we're going to come back and we're going to add in some more details and start really pulling this thing together. Now, I did talk to my husband about it at this point, and I showed him, and he was in love with it, but he said that he felt I should add more gold around the skulls and the dragons that are on the ground. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I only have but so much of the gold glass glitter stuff, so I started mixing it in with some champagne, which really isn't gonna like make a huge difference as far as color wise. It was very, very close. It's just not quite as kind of vivid as it. And even at this point, like, I added more, and he was like, no, you need to add more, make it go like they're actually both laying on the gold. So we're gonna go a little crazy with this, and we're really gonna go out there and kind of put it behind, put it in front, kind of get it up underneath their legs to make it look like they're actually laying on this gold and kind of like protecting it, right? And it's funny because I had thought of this before he and I had started talking, and he's like super big into Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies and whatever. And until I met him, I had never ever even watched them. And so as I was doing this, that is the thought that came to my mind, was from The Hobbit, when they go into wherever it is that they're going to see the dragon and get whatever it is they're supposed to be getting. I don't know. I've only watched the movies a couple times. But anyway, that dragon that's down there that's guarding the gold, this is kind of like the image that I had in my head when I was doing this. So I agree with him. It definitely needed more. The only thing that kind of, like, I'm losing a lot of that black, which is fine, I guess. But I did kind of wish that I had a little bit more of it showing instead of it looking pretty much like it's all just lava. That's the only kind of downfall that I see in this piece as of right now. I took the lava and I went way, way, way too far with it. It just kind of, like I said before, like knowing when to stop, and I didn't know when to stop. I mean, does it look amazing? Yeah, I think it does, but I think I could have used a little less lava in here. But we're just going to go through and I'm just going to add the same thing. A little bit of the red, blue, and purple glass glitter. Just a couple pieces flicked here and there on it just to kind of give the illusion that there's jewels in it. And then those little pearly balls that I have that are kind of like each one of them is a variation in color. So I added a couple of different colors in there just to look like some other type of, treasure that these dragons are guarding. I didn't want to add another key. I thought one key was enough. And I really like that. So we're going to let that kind of dry. And now we're going to move on to the next thing. Going back to the key, as far as where the dragons are, I was good with that. But I kind of wanted to do something else with this skull that was sitting on this hand. And so I have this like bronzy type chain. It's like those little ball chain type deals. And I was kind of playing around with the idea, and I have it draped over, and I have one that's got a key on it. And my husband said it looked really good, so that's what we're going to go with. So I just kind of have it sitting there now. Now I just mixed up some of my hand-painted resin, and what we're going to do with this is add some more details in. I'm taking a tiny bit of the clear, and I'm just kind of going over where that chain is. So this way I don't have to glue it. I can just resin it down. I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. And I'm just using a tiniest little bit here and there just to kind of keep it in place. Now what I want to do is, remember that skull video that you guys watched? Well, I had the obsidian on its head that I glued in. Well, in my head, it's a crack. And we're going to have some lava coming out of it. Because I thought that was a really cool idea. So I am just mixing a little bit of the orange, a little bit of yellow. Now, for this, I don't want to drip the red in like I did with the alcohol ink. So I'm going to mix a little bit of that red alcohol ink in this resin and then add just the tiniest little bit of the Rolio mica powder in Scarlet. I'm not super happy with the red that it turned out, but we only need it a little bit for some details, so it'll be fine. Going in with the yellow first, kind of just how we did the lava on the bottom, but I don't have to worry about this running. So I'm actually putting in the drips how I want them to go, and they're gonna stay. And that's the beauty of this resin. So I'm like really, really loving it like a lot because it opens up a whole new different world of ideas and possibilities that you can use with it. Like, how else would you have done it? Yeah, you could do paint, but now I get that pop, that 3D effect. I'm going to have it dripping down into the eyeball because I thought that was cool, and a couple other places. And then I'm just going to highlight and add some of this to other places, like as far as where the lava is meeting up with the individual pieces and kind of making it look like it's got movement, kind of almost like an ocean with like when you do the waves, kind of like that, but with lava instead, if that makes sense. So I'm going and I'm highlighting the yellow along like each individual area. I'm going up against each piece, the skull and that hand. And I decided with the hand, I was just going to add more lava to the piece and go around it with it as well. I also, you can't see it from the camera angle, but I will be working on that hand piece and those stones. And I'm going to have some lava running around it as well. It'll show in the pictures for the final part, but not, you won't be able to really see it in here. Yeah, around the dragons, around just everything, adding in a little bit more yellow here and there on the stones just to kind of make them pop a little bit more. And that's going to be the extent of what I do here. It does take a little while to kind of get all of the bits and pieces and all those details that I want done. So when I'm done with this, I'll pop back on, but I'm just gonna kind of let you watch my process as I go on, and then I will be back for the next step.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me.
Okay, so I'm back. Pretty cool looking, right? Alright, now it's all dried up. It's been another 24 hours. Time to demold this and see what's happening with those silicone pieces that I stuck under there. Well, they floated, which is what I was afraid of, but they're coming out, so that's a plus. And I do have the little indentions in there like I wanted. Now, is it perfect? No. This wasn't like a forethought in my head before in planning this piece, like at all. It was kind of something that had popped in my mind, so I thought I'd give it a try. Now, there is one piece that had to be sacrificed in order to make this. It got like way stuck under there, and in pulling it out, he died, and it'll be okay. He sacrificed himself for the greater good. All right. Well, because I want to put the lights on, I need a base for this piece. I don't want it just to look ugly like that with a bunch of wires and stuff underneath. So I went out and I got this 12-inch wooden circle, which will fit, that piece will fit perfectly on top. Painted the outer edge and the sides completely in black, let that dry. My husband helped me drill like a little line in there that I could feed the wire through, and which is perfect. Now we're going to go with some of my ISTOYO UV resin, and I'm just going to kind of shove this wire in those little holes, UV resin it down so that I don't have to worry about it popping up. And this way, my piece, when it sits on that wood, will be flush. And I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just going to shove the lights in, and hopefully this will light up the way that I want it to. I realize that, all these different layers of resin and none of it is translucent, it's all opaque, so there's a chance that I'm not going to get the light that I want, but I think that it's going to be pretty cool. And look at it. Like, I mean, granted, it's not a lot of light, but I think it's pretty cool. Like, this is with my light shut off. I think it's all right. I like the glowiness that it gives. So now I am just scuffing up the bottom of this just to make sure that the glue and all of that will stick and adhere to, my piece, and I don't have to worry about it coming off. I did wipe it down with alcohol after I was done. Now I am putting E6000 glue all over it, and then I am going on the outer edge and putting hot glue. The hot glue is for the immediate bond so that I can continue working on it. The E6000 we know takes about 24 hours to fully cure. That is its permanent bond, so hopefully I don't have to worry about anything. Just hot gluing it, the little battery pack to the side of this. Now I will, off camera, I'm going to get one of my paint markers and I'm going to go over that white box so it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. And then I decide that I don't like the seam between the resin piece and the wood. So I'm taking some of my obsidian rocks and I'm going along that edge with some hot glue, and I'm going to glue rocks all around the edge. paying very close attention to that battery box because the little switch for it, the button is on the top, and I don't want to put any rocks over that. That's going to kind of impede you being able to turn off and on the light. And after this does its thing, we're going to go in and add just a little bit more detail to it before I'm completely finished with this. I am absolutely loving this. I really, really hope that you guys love it too. Like, my husband says that it's the best thing that I've made so far. I think it's pretty cool. It took about 3 weeks working on it to get it done. I mean, there's a lot of detail, a lot of work, a lot of thought that went into this. And yeah, I really hope that you guys like it as much as I do. I am going to throw out there as I go. This is the hand painted resin again, just with the orange and the yellow a little bit, just in between some of those rocks where the lava is, because I feel like I didn't want them to just stop and it be black. So I kind of wanted it to go, look like it was kind of getting ready to cascade over those little stones that I put on the outside. And that's pretty much it on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I think I'm gonna be listing this because it's not my kind of thing. Like, I don't have any decor. It doesn't go in my house. I think I may be listing this in the next couple weeks in my eBay store. If anyone is interested, I will update you guys when I decide that that's what I'm going to do. But anyway, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will see you guys on Saturday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.